a popular webcomic, comes to Apple TV Plus as a half-hour animated series. Let's talk about Strange Planet. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for the series Strange Planet. This is on Apple TV Plus, and you can check out all 10 episodes right now. It is based on a webcomic, which also is a book, I believe, as well, with some of the comics, sort of together, and there might be some new stuff in there as well. But in any case, they're all created by Nathan W. Pyle, and he co-created the TV series with Dan Harmon, which, of course, we know him from Rick and Morty and Community and a lot of other things along the way. So before we launch into the specifics of this TV show, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here, and just about every day something new does get posted, so there's always a lot to check out. Please consider subscribing, click that like button, comment below, all that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. And if there's something specific that you're looking for, whether you prefer, the movie reviews, the TV reviews, some of my specialty things, those are all available in playlists on the homepage as well. So you don't have to necessarily, rifle through a bunch of things that maybe you're not as interested in. So that could be handy as well. But all right, so let's talk about Strange Planet. This premiered a few months ago on Apple TV Plus, and it is based on this webcomic where basically these blue beings that are essentially aliens find themselves exploring and trying to understand the complexities and nuances of human behavior on Earth. And so there's a lot of language here that is, very specific to, what an alien may come up with, for the name of something. For example, instead of cat, they say vibrating creature because, they purr and all that stuff. So it's just stuff like that. So the language is very, very specific here and nuanced. The voice talent includes Tunde Adebimpe, who I was kind of unfamiliar with, but he is the lead singer of a band called TV on the Radio, which I know a few songs from. They're an indie band, I think out of New York. And then Demi Adejuibe is also in the cast, as well as Danny Putty, of course, a holdover from Dan Harmon's own Community. Hannah Einbinder, who has won a lot of accolades for her role in Hacks on HBO. Lori Tan Chin. And then there's a bunch of guests as well, whose names you may recognize: Colton Dunn from Superstore, Cynthia Erivo, Fortune Feimster. There's a lot of people in the mix here, but all of the main cast, the five main people I mentioned, they all portray multiple characters throughout the series, and they sort of vary between episodes, and that is one of my issues with the series. I have a few, but one of them is, so none of these blue beings really have names, and so each episode, at first I thought we were going to be exploring, the same group of people, or aliens, I guess, in each episode, but I don't believe that is the case. I think we're looking at various people through the different episodes, and since none of them have any names, I can't be 100% certain that's what's happening, but I'm pretty sure. And as a result, there is a real disconnect that I felt with these characters. And yes, there's, tons of like anthology series where the cast changes every episode, or there's a different story every episode. So it's not necessarily that that I'm opposed to, but it's just the fact that we aren't really able to get that close to any of these characters in any of the episodes, because they all just sort of come and go, and they are barely they barely know each other because of sort of this barrier between, what is traditional, human behavior on Earth and them kind of exploring. So each episode has them kind of exploring other things. But for example, like one of the episode synopsis on Wikipedia: a being struggles with performing at the talent show. Meanwhile, two other beings reluctantly learn to cooperate. That's the byline. And so, okay, like I can understand that to, a certain extent, but I just don't have any connection necessarily with any of these characters because of that. And I will say that some of the language being used, I think, is clever. They're sort of, it's a little bit like the another Dan Harmon show, Krapopolis, that just premiered on Fox earlier this year. They're in ancient Greece, so they're talking a lot about things that we have names for now that they did not back then, and so they're just sort of like describing it. That's a lot of sort of the language stuff here as well. So that's a bit of a holdover between both shows, but I thought some of that was clever and cute, and there are definitely funny moments, but are they funny in a like haha sense, or are they funny in a Sunday morning newspaper comic strip sense where you're just like, okay, that's, a clever wordplay or whatever the situation is. I didn't really find myself specifically laughing a lot. It was more just like, oh, okay, that's cute. And I think certain things that translate on a 4-panel comic don't really translate to a half-hour full-on series. And we've seen certainly many comics over the years try, going back to the early days of television. Dennis the Menace became, a hit TV show, or, there's a bunch of early examples of that. Obviously, Charlie Brown and the Peanuts became a phenomenon, with their specials and stuff. But a lot of times, especially like this, where the characters don't even really have names, and it's a different, I guess in the comics, it's maybe 2 different characters every single time or something. It would be like, there's another comic like this from, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, Cyanide and Happiness, where, and you may have seen this, they're sort of stick figures, but one is, wearing orange and one's wearing green. And because of that, I assume they're kind of the same people every time. But here we get none of that because they aren't really wearing clothes. Where they're just blue beings. And there's no thread, from one episode to the other. So I just didn't think it translated that well from the comic to the half-hour show. And after watching a few of these episodes, I looked at some of the webcomics, and I mean, I feel like I'm pretty spot on with that, because even the comics aren't necessarily funny. It's more, okay, they're sort of figuring out life and figuring out human behavior and everything, and that's fine. But I didn't really sense a lot of jokes. It was more like live, laugh, love sort of stuff, and in that respect, it's surprising that Dan Harmon is attached to this, because this seems very, very watered down, very safe. It is maybe the equivalent of like a half hour sort of warm hug, to the audience. Not that necessarily it's all, warm and fuzzy. There's definitely, some of the blue beings have, darker feelings. And I think it's the first episode, this one couple's favorite band breaks up, and so they're like, oh, what does that mean for us as beings, and as a couple? And some of those themes are interesting to explore, but I just don't know that it translated that well into a half-hour show. So for that, I leave Strange Planet with a C. And you can check this out now on Apple TV Plus, and you can check out the webcomics as well. I guess I'll put a link in the description to those if you want to see some of those as well. But all right, for now, that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time.